Hello and welcome back to the Championship Lowdown podcast. We are back for yet another match week preview. I am joined, as always, by Ollie. Welcome back to the channel, Ollie.
Thanks, James. Feels like it's been a while.
I think it's been. I mean, obviously, as you probably would have noticed, we weren't able to get a review up. Sorry, on Monday, and then I believe it was me and Lewis on the previous preview, and then me and Chris on the review. So it has been a while. So
yeah, glad to be back. I'm glad to be back.
It's a shame we've not picked the most exciting week. So yeah, me and Ollie have quickly discovered it's not the best week of games in terms of entertainment value on paper. Anyway, we're not saying they're all going to be awful, but on paper, it's not the best week. However, there are a couple of good games, and unfortunately, as I always hate to do, we are going to start with Swansea City, Ollie, as we are on Friday night football in the. I mean, people are making this out to be a big game. Swansea versus Wrexham. Look, at the end of the day, it's two Welsh teams. Obviously, it's the only Welsh team we play because a certain someone got relegated. Haha. But yeah, I mean, obviously, the whole narrative has been directed towards more like Snoop Dogg versus Reynolds than it has been towards Swansea versus Wrexham. I spoke to Ollie before the recording about how if you watch our pre-match press conference with Vitor Matos, it took 7 minutes out of a 9 minutes 55 press conference to ask a direct question about Swansea City to show you the levels of how this game's been a bit blown out of proportion. But back to the footballing side of things, Ollie, as we'll bring a bit more reason into this game. What do you think is going to happen in this one?
See, I quite like that. I think if I was a Swansea fan, I'd quite like that. Just talk about Wrexham as much as you possibly can. Just bang it all in, bang it all in, bang it all in. And then as soon as it comes to the game, Swansea win, Wrexham get quiet and down. There you go. Simple as, isn't it? Just keep them quiet. When Wrexham came to the MKM Stadium a couple of weeks ago, before the podcast started, they are probably the poorest side I've seen so far this season. And I know that what they've done so far this season, they're in the mid-table. They've obviously had a couple of decent performances. But my word, they were bad. Like, really, really bad. And if we'd have won 6-7-8-0, they couldn't have complained with that. So they were really, really poor. If they do anything like that against you guys on Friday night, then you'll turn them over. They were literally awful. They just got turned inside out by all of our players. We wasn't necessarily fantastic. We just went through the gears and did what we needed to do and just come away with a really, really comfortable win. So if, like I say, if keep talking about Wrexham, keep bigging Wrexham up in the media or whatever, if they turn up to Swansea and play like that, Swansea will win.
Obviously, it does require us to win the game, which is not a common thing that's happened this season. Look, at the end of the day, right, we're coming off a game with 6 points out of 9, which I would have taken had you had said it to me before the run of 3 games. Obviously, we come off the loss at Stoke on the weekend, and it's a tough one. I don't think we played bad for large parts of the game, but then we're just so unconvincing in what we did. Obviously, we come up with a loss, but then we struggle to create so much. But then our goal is literally Galbraith with one line-breaking pass, finds Vidal, who plays a beautiful ball into the box, and Vipotnik taps it home. 3 passes for that goal to go in. That's all it takes sometimes. It's just you've got to simplify it down to how easy it can be. But, we lose to Stoke, which is not a bad thing. They're a good side, and they showed that in times against us, but it was a winnable game. But we won the 2 games we needed to do, which I was very worried about. But we did beat Oxford and Portsmouth, which was massive, because we would have been in a lot more trouble than we currently are had we not done that. However, Portsmouth, with their win on the weekend, I believe, they did win against Blackburn.
They win 3-2, yeah.
So it makes it a bit more difficult. We're now only 4 points clear again. So this would be another chance to take a step up the table. I believe we'd only go 3 points behind Wrexham, I want to say, or even 2 points behind Wrexham if we to win this game. So, we're right back in that sort of midst again.
You go three behind. You're on 23, they're on 29, I think. 28 there are. Yeah, so three behind. So
22 if we won, 26.
Yeah, 2, yeah. That's true enough.
So, it's a chance. And, as you said, I want to shut them up. As much as you said, you like it to have all the pressure off of us. I also would, if I wanted to watch a press conference about Wrexham, I would have gone and watched Phil Parkinson's. So it's annoying in that front. The whole derby game, it's not a derby. Can we just put that out there? It's not a derby.
It's a Welsh derby.
It's not a derby. I'll take Welsh rivalry and stuff like that, but it's not a derby. It's a rivalry game at the absolute max. And even then, that's really not. It's just because we're both Welsh. If they were literally 10 miles further east, this game would mean nothing. But we have sold out. It's a sold out crowd. Wrexham haven't. Shock horror because their fans are terrible. Sorry, can't say that. Yeah, all of a sudden
You're laying into Wrexham considering this isn't a derby, James.
I'm just very confused for how much, like, obviously they play into the narrative of the whole Ryan Reynolds thing. When you've got a storyline with like Snoop Dogg and all that, you'd think they'd turn up, but apparently not. But yeah, I don't know.
The fairy tale's over at Wrexham now, isn't it? They've done all the documentary stuff now. It's all getting the underdog things is getting finished. So they're spending as much money as they possibly can now to try and get their way into the promised land. It's proving a difficult task this year, isn't it?
Were they ever underdogs any point apart from now?
Well, not maybe now. I think that's probably it, isn't it? And then they're going away from it, shying away from it.
League Two or even League One, they weren't exactly underdogs. But yeah, no, look, I think it's a chance. We could win this game. I think Matos is building something. You could sort of see it. He sort of reignited the fight, which was the bare minimums. That's back in these players now after a period of time where it looked like they weren't even half bothered. He sort of kicked them back into gear. I loved the clip. I can't remember who made the tackle, but it was a tackle, and you could see Matos and them like celebrating the tackle, halfway through the game. That means nothing. Like, I like that. He obviously cares, and he seems very like privileged to be in the position that he's in, which is nice to see someone who cares and like wants to do well. So
that's what we want to see as football fans, isn't it? It's just, that's the bare minimum we want is the effort. That's all we ever ask for, is to put 100% effort in 100% of the time. When you cross that line, we want 100% effort from our boys. That's all we ever ask for. And I think when you bring it right back to that, you will see the results. I think that's just the way it is. You get the effort, you'll see the benefit.
100%. And look, as I said, it's an opportunity, but we're still yet to be a what I class as a good team this year. I think every team we've beaten has occupied a spot in the relegation zone so far.
Are Wrexham a good team?
Compared to who we've beaten, yes.
Yeah.
They haven't sat in the relegation zone this year, so bar at the start of the season on alphabetical order. So, yeah, no, I think it's a tough game. Don't get me wrong. They're a hard side to break down, as they proved in November. But obviously against you, they showed that sort of weakness where, I think they've conceded more goals in December already than they conceded in the entirety of November. So they're not really matching how they start. Only one win in the last 5. It's an opportunity, but it'll be a tough one, I think, for us.
Yeah, they're proving to be draw specialists as well. Just looking at the league table, they've drawn more games than everybody else in the league. So I think, judging from our previous podcast, James, what we normally predict is a draw. So do we stray away from that this time?
I wouldn't. I think it'll be a draw. I think like a 1-1 or a 0-0 in this one.
I think Swansea are going to snatch this.
I refuse to.
I think Swansea are legit. I think there'll be goals in it. I do think both teams will score, but I think Swansea take this 2-1.
0-0.
Welsh derby.
No, I think low scoring draw. I just think it'll be a tight game, and I think we'll struggle to get past this Wrexham defence, which has proven to be a lot better in the last couple of weeks than it has been before. But we'll move on from my Swansea rant as always. But at least a bit happy we actually won games this time rather than just complaining about a loss last weekend.
Good to see you with a smile on your face, mate.
I know. Well, after Stoke, I wasn't, believe me. We'll move on though to Southampton versus Coventry, a big one. This maybe not in sense of league table, but against two teams who have obviously established themselves. However, probably Southampton you favour on the form guide. Obviously, they come off a loss to Norwich, which was very sort of unprecedented. But Coventry, they come off a win at Bristol City. But before that, a draw to a 10-man Preston and a 3-0 hammering by Ipswich. You've sort of finally seen some weakness in this Coventry side after what seemed to be basically just formidable wouldn't lose. They did get that battering off Ipswich, which made things a bit more interesting, especially at the top, because there's only 5 points in it, Ollie, between Coventry and Middlesbrough, when I believe it was 10 only a couple of weeks ago. So safe to say the pressure's on Coventry to get a result here.
Yeah, it is a little bit. You look at them 2 games that they didn't get points in, and we call it a slump. But they were coming up against an Ipswich side who hit a purple patch, and Preston are notoriously difficult to beat. They're such a physical side, and they're so hard to break down. So if you can call that a slump, I think Coventry are all right with that. They're still top of the league. They've given themselves that cushion, haven't they? They've put themselves in that nice position where they could afford to go through this slump, if you like. So to go to the Southampton, to go down to St Mary's this weekend as the underdogs, sat at the top of the table with a 5-point cushion, I think it's a really nice position for Coventry to be in, to be fair. And Southampton, I was talking to a Southampton fan during this week, and he said that they rocked up at Norwich and just expected to turn up and win, and they played like a bunch of clowns. So if Southampton continue to do that, I think the writing could be on the wall for them against the Coventry side, who are under a bit of pressure.
Yeah, I mean, look, even if you look at Coventry's winning against Bristol City, it was close. They only won 1-0, and it wasn't easy. Bristol City had more. I think they had bigger chances than Coventry in the game, obviously bar the goal, to sort of get their way into it. So it's an interesting one to see. That's finally, I guess, a sign of weakness in a team that seems so basically unbeatable that they are beatable and they are human, more to the point, with how silly their run of form was becoming. But that's 3 games now where they've only scored 2 goals in 3 games, which for them is very much off the pace for the team who was averaging 2 goals a game. I believe they probably still are up there. They're still averaging 2.5 goals a game. So just to show you with that slump, they're still over 2 goals a game on average, which is ridiculous. But yeah, I think if you look at it from the perspective of Southampton, obviously they're coming off a very annoying loss. A loss that nobody expected against Norwich, who, safe to say, have been struggling a lot this season. But before that, they responded really well to the loss at Millwall. So I don't doubt that they're going to have a response here again. Is it the easiest game? No. Obviously, they look at this. They got Oxford after this away, then Birmingham away, which is not easy again. And then they go back to play Millwall, who have already beaten them in the last month. So it's interesting to see Southampton. I think they have a chance, though. I think if you're ever going to want to play Coventry, Ollie, it's probably now.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously going away to a place like Southampton is never easy. Southampton will be frustrated with that performance last week, and judging by what I've heard from the fans this week, they'll need to put performance in, especially at home at St Mary's, because otherwise they'll get on the back. Because you're expecting Southampton to be in a game against every side. It doesn't matter who you are, especially coming down from the Premier League last season and the riches they've got in their squad. You'd expect Southampton to compete in every game. I don't care who you are, whether you're Coventry or whether you're Ipswich or what. Southampton should be in every game. And the way that they've got some of their players playing at the moment is unbelievable. Armstrong's on fire. So, Southampton will fancy the chances against this Coventry side, who are on this particular slump, shall we say, not playing particularly well, or as well as they have been, let's say. Rushworth's keeping them in a lot of games. Recently, I heard that he kept them in the game at Bristol City a few times. Man of the match by a country mile, by all accounts. So yeah, it's probably a good time to be playing Coventry, but equally, you're at the top of the league. You've given yourself that opportunity to be able to go on these runs and still have that comfort to be able to then put performances back on the plate and start playing well again and building this up. The one concern I've got, James, for you, mate, is the fact that Coventry, if they don't win this game, they've got a home game against Swansea next,
which they'll win 10-0.
That's where their run of form comes back with a vengeance.
All right, mate. I've been putting to work on Boxing Day. What a shame. No, look, I think it's interesting with Rushworth, as you mentioned, because I believe there's been headlines of him potentially being recalled in January by Brighton. So that would be a detrimental loss, to put it politely, to Coventry season if they were to lose him, because he's been superb. And as a Swansea fan who watched him for an entire year, I know how good Carl Rushworth is. He is superb. He's a fantastic goalkeeper, and I don't doubt that he's Premier League quality, and probably has been for a couple of years now. I think when he left us, he could have easily gone on to play in the Premier League.
Only young as well, isn't he? What, 23, 24, something like that?
Yeah, he is a superb goalkeeper, and he's got a big, bright future ahead of him.
Absolutely.
But I think Coventry in this situation, you need to remember who you are and what you've done. You can't get down by a couple of, not saying bad results, but not great results. Because, you've got to look at your season so far and be like, we've done this. We were scoring for fun every game, winning every game. You've got to remember that in these tough situations and not let the pressure get to you. It's easier said than done. It's hard to not only lead the Championship for so long, but to stay at the top is so difficult. I really like the idea of it. I really like the idea of Ipswich potentially catching up. I think it's an outsider shout for a league title, but if they continue their form, don't be surprised if that was to happen. But I think Coventry, they just need to remember, we're a good side. We can win these games. It's a tough game, obviously. Going to St Mary's is not an easy task, but I think if they're at their best, they should win this game.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. Yeah, I think it's, like I say, I think it's a tough one to call this, though. Like, they're both going to be relatively nervy after recent performances, aren't they? I know Coventry got that win, but by all accounts, that was a lucky win, really. Southampton obviously didn't turn up last week against Norwich, but could be quite a nervy game, this. And I think an early goal for either team could really put the cat amongst pigeons with the other team. And, an early goal could really see it through.
Nothing, I don't disagree at all, but we will find out when that game is. Believe it's on the early kickoff on
Yeah.
Saturday afternoon. So we'll see in the not so distant future. But we'll move on to our next game of the week, which is Bristol City versus Middlesbrough. And as you'll probably tell by how these sections might be a bit shorter than the other ones, this is where the sort of storylines and the quality of games falls away a bit. But this is still a competitive game. Obviously, Bristol City are in a bit of a weird run. Obviously, they come off that loss. Not saying it's a disappointing loss, but only one win in the last 5, and it being Portsmouth means they've fallen all the way down to 11th in the Championship table. Sorry, whereas Middlesbrough on a complete opposite run, 4 wins on the spin, closing that gap to Coventry is just 5 points when it was 10 not so long ago. So as we already mentioned, they've closed that gap, Ollie, and they've done it in a very impressive fashion. And with a game away at Ashton Gate and against the Bristol City team who have been struggling as of late, this is yet another opportunity for Middlesbrough to keep that run going.
Yeah, 100%. I'm really, really impressed with Middlesbrough. I mean, when Edwards was there, we all was having a conversation about, like, do they deserve to be up there? Are they going to get caught out? Are they going to be found out shortly? Are they going to start falling down the league a little bit? But since Helberg's come in, wow, what a side he's got there, and the way he's got them playing. I mean, when they come to our place, played us off the park, man. Absolutely annihilated us. Comfortably the best team I've seen this season, and more than deserved that 4-0 half-time lead. The game was won at half-time. Not much more you can say about that. Brilliant side. What he's done there so far is absolutely incredible. I fully expect Middlesbrough to carry this form on. They've got a team who are just high on confidence. They're playing such sublime football. They're not getting around the back well. They look confident playing it out from the back. They look confident playing the ball at feet. If it's different, they've got, if it's a game where they're getting pushed on, they don't mind putting balls over the top to play a long ball. I really like the look of this Middlesbrough side, and they're looking quite ominous to me. I think Bristol City have got a real task on their hands to try and slow this Middlesbrough train down.
Yeah, I mean, I said I like Vita Matos, but this stings a bit as a Swansea fan, knowing how close that Kim Helberg was to becoming our manager, because we knew he was going to be good, and obviously he's gone to Middlesbrough, and safe to say he's not disappointed at all in that time he's been there. I mean, just, it's 4 unbelievable wins on the spin, and with 2 of them away from home at Hull and Charlton, which is, Charlton's not an easy place to go, and Hull have been very good this year. And then also beating Derby, who are on a good run of form, and QPR sort of setting them back after they've regained form as well. One of their 2 losses in the last 5 for QPR as well. So look, they're scarily good, and this is the type of football where it either works or it goes up in flames. And when it works, it's ridiculously good, and it's working. And that means the ceiling for Middlesbrough becomes a lot higher than probably what it did under Rob Edwards. I think they're probably better off. I said at the time, I think, they could probably end up being better off without Rob Edwards. And it looks like I was right, because, I can't say anyone seems to think that they're struggling. They're doing very well. But as you said, it's just fluid, brilliant, just not even like necessarily high possession. They keep the ball, but they do so much with it. Even the QPR game, they had a lot of the ball, but 2.2 XG, that's nothing to 18 shots, 7 on target. They're creating loads of chances. They're taking them and they're winning games. And that's the best you can possibly ask for from your team. So, as you said, I think it's definitely an ominous one to look at, with them looming down on Coventry every week.
Yeah, that's it, man. We got players like Whittaker coming in off that right-hand side and just slamming goals in for fun. He's not scoring boring goals, is he? You've got to show him onto your right foot. Every team who's playing against Morgan Whittaker, show him onto the right-hand side, because if he cuts in on that left, he's going to score. My God, he's a player, and he's on fire at the minute. They're going to have to keep him quiet to have a chance at Bristol City. Yeah, I mean, yeah, tough one for Bristol City. This on the sort of sticky run of form that they're on. I think Middlesbrough are going to be really fancying their chances there on Saturday afternoon. We go back to say what like Rob Edwards. We questioned it at the time. It was such a surreal decision to make, to go to a club at the bottom of the Premier League and to leave a club who were nicely placed in second, maybe third at the time that he left the club at Middlesbrough. And you're kind of thinking, you seem to be building something really, really nicely here. And I think, if anything, Helberg's just come in and proved what he had there. And who's to say, that this momentum doesn't stop, because the stuff they're playing at the moment, they're looking really, really good, Middlesbrough.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, it's just baffling for Rob Edwards. I mean, I get the law and the money, and I get it, I really do, but it's safe to say he might not even end this season with that club that he's moved on to. So he might end up
There's
unemployed.
talk of it already, isn't there? There's talk of him going already. It's like, who do you bring in there? I mean, it's madness.
He ends up unemployed and Middlesbrough end up in the Premier League. And,
he could well see it happening, though.
All of a sudden, you look like an idiot. I mean, I thought you looked like one the second you made the decision to us. But as far as Bristol City go, I'm just not convinced with their form at the minute. I get like Coventry wasn't a bad result. They have an okay, draw at Leicester's fine. But then losses to Wrexham and Millwall, they weren't exactly electric at Portsmouth either. So, again, the issue, my issue with Middlesbrough, and it's sort of the one I have with a lot of teams, is no striker, again, that scores a lot of goals. I mean, Emery's a 6, but most of their goals come from Ennis Mehmeti and Scott Twine. I think Mehmeti's got 6 goals, 6 assists.
So Twine's are a lot of set pieces, aren't they? I mean, I know he scored from a lot of open play this season, but generally speaking, Twine's goals come from set pieces. So,
exactly. It's very,
like you said, there's no real target man or focal point for that Bristol City side, is there? And I think when you're coming up against the Middlesbrough side who have got that, yeah, it's going to be a tough afternoon, I think.
Yeah, I am very much leaning towards the Middlesbrough win column again on this one. Like, I can't personally see a world where Bristol City get much fun out of their Saturday afternoon. So sorry, Bristol City fans, if you were looking forward to this weekend, I've probably just ruined it for you. But I think
we know full well they'll have the last laugh at 5 o'clock on Saturday afternoon.
Fair enough. I'm not saying like they're rubbish or whatever. They're not a bad side.
No, they're a good side.
But Middlesbrough are just, it's like you sort of have Bristol City here and Middlesbrough sort of up here. They're a very good side. So I think we'll leave it there before we make any Bristol City fans unsubscribe from the channel or something like that. And we'll move on to Hull City versus West Brom. Obviously, we've seen West Brom with some interesting results, it's safe to say. I suppose you could say something about both of these teams, really. West Brom are a bit all over the place. They've won 2 of their last 4. Obviously, a lot of goals with 3 of their last 4 games being 3-2, 3-1, 3-2. So it's safe to say there's goals in the games, and against the Hull side that certainly shown defensive weaknesses, Ollie. Safe to say you're looking at a lot of goals in this one.
Yeah, I mean, we tightened up against Wrexham. Granted, so we looked all right in that. But like I've said, I've already pointed out, they were appalling. So, but then we did a job on Millwall at the weekend. So, and that was a really good performance. So it was like a proper away performance. That one, we soaked up a lot of Millwall pressure and got really under the skin. You've seen it with the red card. Yeah, I mean, we've got performances and we've got angst and we've got people who like to really get under the skin of the opposing teams, and I really like that, what Jurkovic has done with our team. We hadn't had that for ages. We always seem to be like one of those teams who would just roll over and get your belly tickled. That'd be like what a Hull City performance would be like, and now it just seems like we're the ones tickling the opponent's bellies, and I really like that. I really like what we're doing. We're getting under the skin. We've got these players who are going in there and riling the teams up, and with McBurney coming back, I know we've lost Gellart, but with McBurney coming back and really staking a claim for his being the top striker in the division, because statistically he is. He's actually the top striker in the division in terms of chances taken. So he's the most potent striker in the division. But I'd like to see him coming off the bench again, because like what Carl Joseph's doing at the moment, he's starting games, his energy, he's really putting defence under pressure with his movement, and he's actually started scoring goals. So I think West Brom are in for a hard afternoon here. I think we're playing pretty well. Confidence is going to be high. I can't believe we're still 6th in the league, but long may it continue, because what we're doing under Jurkovic is really, really pleasing me. I like all of it, apart from that defensive lapse, the defensive. What's the word I'm looking for? We just seem to be a little bit. Well, we just seem to be a lot open, but I don't know if it's naivety. I don't know whether it's just we're just expecting to score more than the opponents. I don't know, but we do need to sort that defence out. And it seems over the last couple of games we may have done that. But West Brom, like you say, tough team to call at the moment, and there are goals in them. So we will need to tighten up, and we'll need to keep tight against this West Brom side. But I just think that we've got a little bit of a run of form here.
Yeah, I mean, it pains me really that you just spoke about Carl Joseph and Ollie McBurney, considering they both play for Swansea. So nice to see ex-Swansea players are scoring goals, because current ones certainly aren't. But yeah, I just For me, like with Hull, it's a weird team. I mean, you know this full well, but every time you think, yeah, they're great, and then all of a sudden they hit that brick wall with a terrible run of form, and then maybe they're not that good,
Yeah.
and then they win 2 games on spin. Like, okay, maybe they are good. It's just very yo in opinions with Hull.
You want to try supporting them, mate?
I can imagine, but it's West Brom just goals galore. Someone who has been on an absolute heater in the last couple of weeks is Arne Hegerberg for West Brom. I mean, out of nowhere, he had a pretty, mediocre start to the year, and he's flown up in the goals in the last couple of weeks. So, including against us, which I don't want to talk about. But he's finding his feet in this division final, which what we expected. He was hailed as a very, very nice striker. So when he came into this league, so I'm not surprised that he's doing well.
I've seen comparisons to Erling Haaland this week, so I'm not sure it's just his nationality thing there, but it's he's been called the Championship Haaland.
Let's settle that one down very quickly. But Hull, I mean, you're one of the top scorers in the league. I believe there's only, I want to say it's still only Coventry who've got more goals than you at the minute.
I think so.
36 goals, but then a 36 goal score, but 35 goals conceded. It's certainly a record, to say the least. Considering, there's teams, you look all the way far down. Only Sheffield Wednesday have conceded more goals.
Sheffield Wednesday, yeah. Second worst defence in the division, and we're currently sat 6th in the league. It's bonkers, isn't it?
That's ridiculous. That is a mental stat, to say the least.
Like I say, we'll score a lot though. We'll just outscore you. That's the thing.
You're doing like the old sort of Man City technique when they won the league all the time. It was just they didn't defend; they just scored like 4 goals a game, so they didn't need to defend
from the front, mate. Defending from the front.
But yeah, no, I think you should win this. In all honesty,
which means we'll lose.
I can only apologise in advance. But West Brom have been up and down. Obviously, they come off a nice win against Sheffield United, but I think with your form coming into this with 2 wins on the spin and 2 convincing wins on the spin, I think it's safe to say as well, you're going to want to build on that form and, more importantly, stay in that top 6 because it's so tight at the top. And this whole league is ridiculous. I mean, you're on 34 points. We're on 23, so we're only 11 behind you, and we're 19th.
It's crazy. It's a championship all over, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's just you hit one good run of form and you fly up or fly down. It's ridiculous. I mean, Charlton is 17th. They were 4th. Which is
why you can't write off teams like Leicester and Southampton and stuff. You're looking at that division in there, like you've just said, that even with Swansea, you look at Swansea and you were looking at a relegation fight not too long ago. You win 2 games and all of a sudden you find yourself looking at the playoffs. It's crackers. The division's insane, but I absolutely love it.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no, I think I assume you're fairly confident here, as you said. You think you might get the win.
So. I don't have any reason not to be confident. I just think that the players we've got back, which is crazy considering we're normally riddled with injuries. Don't get me wrong, we've still got injuries. Lundstrom's out for a long time again. Gelhardt's obviously going on a nice little run of form, so of course he gets injured. But we've got Bellumi back now, who's staking a claim to start games. He started against Millwall, which was fantastic against. So Miller's back and McBurney's back. So hopefully we can start putting a decent run of wins together because we've got a good team on paper. And the one thing that concerns me, I wrote about it earlier today, was Ajayi going on AFCON. Obviously, we've already got that leaky defence and we're conceding too many goals. Even with the experience of Ajayi there, we find ourselves wide open too regularly. And that's one thing that does concern me, is the fact that Ajayi leaves. We're going to need somebody like Egan with his experience to come in, steady the ship a little bit. Because Charlie Hughes is fantastic, don't get me wrong. Absolutely brilliant player, destined for the Premier League. I have no doubt about that. But can't do it on his own. He simply cannot do it on his own. And when you've got players like Coyle who like to get forward, and you've got Giles who likes to get forward, who's proved it with his assists this season, we're going to be open. So we're going to need them players in Egan, in Hughes, to take charge of that back line, be a little bit more vocal, be a little bit more leader, and really take charge of trying to keep a tighter ship at the back. That's the one thing that concerns me, especially, like you say, you've alluded to the fact that West Brom have got goals in them. So there are going to be goals in this game. There always are when it comes to Hull City. I just think that the run of form that we've got at the moment, the confidence that's running through the camp, the way that Jurkovic has got us playing, yeah, I fancy us.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't blame you at all. But we'll move on to our last but one game of the week that we will look at in a lot of detail, which is Leicester versus QPR at Loftus Road. So I think for me, the big headline coming out of this game was Leicester's, big statement 3-1 win against Ipswich. on the weekend. That's a huge win. Also, I have to say it because obviously we didn't do reviews. I didn't speak about then. Abdul Fatawu, what on earth was that goal? I believe it was the second longest in Championship history or something like that. I don't know how accurate that was though, because I could swear I've seen goals from further
The
away.
goalkeepers have scored goals, haven't they? Which should be from the 18-yard area. I thought that was a little bit inaccurate as well. But maybe, I don't know.
Intrigue. Either way, an absolute screamer from Abdul
Unbelievable.
Fatawu. But obviously that's a huge win for them, and that puts them up to 8th in the table, and just below them is QPR in 9th in the table after their run of 3 wins in the last 5. However, a disappointing loss to Norwich is sat in there. But they responded well, beating West Brom and Birmingham, but then obviously it comes crashing down a bit with a 3-1 defeat to Middlesbrough. So, I mean, it's a difficult one to call here, Ollie, because it's two teams, in a fairly decent run of form, but Leicester should have all the confidence in the world after scoring a halfway liner and winning 3-1 against arguably one of the most informed teams in the entire division.
Yeah, I was reading a statistic earlier on today that Leicester haven't kept a clean sheet in 14 matches. So that kind of blew my mind a little bit. I'm not sure how true that is, but if you look back through, it looks quite accurate. Yeah, so not kept a clean sheet in the last 14 matches. Scoring goals, like you say, and they're better away from home than they are at home. So I think they'll go to Loftus Road and they'll fancy their chances. You're just looking at that now, aren't you?
Sorry, it's just I'm more impressed by the ironic thing was the last clean sheet was Coventry.
Yeah, mental.
Of all the teams, they couldn't stop scoring. They could stop Coventry. 20th of September was their last clean sheet.
We kept a clean sheet more since they have.
We've kept 2.
Well, there you go. The Championship's insane. Leicester, like you say, Leicester, good side away from home, and I think they play away from home with the pressure off. And obviously, they got that win against Ipswich last weekend, compounded with the absolute joke of a goal from Fatawu, like we've said. QPR are a mad side, aren't they? You can never call what they're going to. I mean, they're a team this season who've beaten so many decent sides, and then they've lost 7-1. And yet they're 8th in the league, 7th, 8th in the league. It's crazy. It's Championship all over. 9th in the league. Even so, nothing in it. Such a strange division. Going back to Leicester a little bit, we keep talking about Cifuentes and the pressure that he's under, and all of a sudden he'll just take it. They'll win. They'll win a game, then all of a sudden the pressure's gone. And players like Skip and Winks are really coming alive for Leicester, I think. And we just alluded to the Championship table not too long ago about how teams in 10th and lower, they've still got opportunities of potentially even battling it out for a playoff spot. You look at the top 2, they've got a bit of a cushion at the moment, but we know how quickly it can turn around. But teams like Leicester will be looking at the playoffs and thinking they're not unachievable. And I think they'll go away this weekend. Like I say, a little bit of pressure off when they're going away from home, backed by a decent following down at London to watch QPR. I think Leicester will come away with a win here.
Yeah, I mean, as you said with QPR, it's such a weird team, but Leicester even more so. I think every time we've come on the podcast and said Cifuentes needs to win or he's going to get sacked, he wins.
Yeah,
every time.
It's weird.
He's built on that as well, which for him is huge because if apparently he's so I've heard some things. Apparently, every time he's been like, if you lose 2 games in a row, you're gone. That's sort of been the thing, and he hasn't done it because he just wins every time he's on the verge of. Since they said they're going to sack him after losing sort of 2 in a row. I think it was after Sheffield United. So if you lose again, you're done. Because they had lost 2 there, and then they're like, if you lose again, you're done. And he's won. They haven't lost in the last 3. So I don't know. Ipswich win probably bought him till at least the new year. Now it has to have surely. But yeah, as you said, every time we think he's gone, he's back, and he's back again. So
maybe he's a subscriber. Maybe he's just doing it to annoy us.
Yeah, maybe just don't want to look at idiots when he ends up taking them to the playoffs. So he said he could get sacked.
Evening, Marty.
But yeah, look, I think this is a good Leicester team at the minute, and I think QPR are going to have some trouble because I'm still not convinced with them. I really am not. They're not consistent enough for me to really mount any sort of challenge to the playoffs. And at times they just don't look great. I wouldn't say there's any like danger players in this team. Like obviously you got Kone, but he's only got 4 goals this year, which I think is a lot lower than we expected. Burrell's sort of been the go-to guy with 9. Apart from that, You know,
Chair's a good player. He often chips in
yeah,
with the odd assist and goal, but yeah, he's not done it as frequently as he has done previously, shall we say.
no, he's just not fit enough. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think for me, this is going to be a tough one for QPR, in my opinion.
I agree. I mean, you look at the defensive; they're wide open. The 33 goals this season conceded. It's a hell of a lot to concede. You know, they're up there in ninth with a -5 goal difference. It's concede so many goals, and they're up against the Leicester side whose confidence is going to be, you know, like you say, sky high, especially scoring goals from 75 yards.
Absolutely, yeah. So we'll soon find out if Cifuentes can keep that run of form going. But our last game for you this week, before we sort of have a little touch on the rest of the games, is Sheffield United versus Birmingham. Now, a Sheffield United side, where had we spoken about them a couple of weeks ago, it was a bit up and down. They've sort of established themselves a bit in the last couple of weeks, but obviously coming off their first loss in 5 to West Brom at the Hawthorns on the weekend. As far as Birmingham go, their issue all season, and continues to be their issue, is they cannot win a game away from home. Their last 3 games, they've won none of them, 2 of them being losses on the road, and then a draw at home to Charlton. So again, Birmingham, after we finally thought, Ollie, they were coming back into what we expected from Birmingham at the start of the year, they've just fallen off a cliff again.
I tipped them to get a result at QPR, and then they nearly pulled out of the bag with that 95th minute equaliser and then conceded straight from kickoff. So it's almost like they don't want to win away from home. It's madness. It's a strange old return, Birmingham's form away from home. I think it's a real tough game for them as well this weekend. Obviously, Chris Wilder touched upon how really, really disappointed he was with the performance against West Brom. He even asked the players to apologise to the fans, which is it's Chris Wilder all over, and it's theatre, isn't he? He's coming out and he's trying to get the fans riled up and get them back on side again and get a performance out of the players, which, generally speaking, with a Wilder team, it does. And given their current run of form, barring the West Brom defeat, they're looking pretty good and a little bit more what we'd all expect from a Sheffield United side, to be fair. So I think going back to Bramall Lane this weekend against the Birmingham side who just don't win away from home, I think Sheffield United fancy the chances this weekend, and I'd be tempted to back them for the win as well.
Yeah, I don't disagree. As you said, I don't understand what Birmingham's issue is with playing away from home. They can't do it. They reminded me of shades of better version of Portsmouth last year. Didn't win any games away, but they won so many at home it didn't matter. They've just done it on a bit more of a extreme scale of being at the higher end of the table. Again, they're down in 13th at the minute, so they're still not. I don't know. It's just a weird. This whole league is weird. It's such a weird division. It's got even weirder this year with there being no clear cut sort of title favourite or relegation favourite after 1 week. You know, it's bar Sheffield Wednesday, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'd really like to back Sheffield United here. To be honest, you know, you look at Birmingham away from home. I don't know when the last time they won away from home is. I can't imagine it was any time sort of in recently, you know, so they have to sort that out, because if they want to sort of come that team, there was Preston away in October, 21st of October. It's not too long ago, but still a while away. There's been a good
2 months ago.
That's at least 12, you know, there's been at least 11, 12 games played since then. So yeah, I don't know. I think with Sheffield United's form being a lot better than what it was, they're going to want to look to build their way up the table again. And, you know, they could still be a threat to that playoffs with how close this league is if they hit form at the right time. So yeah, I think I agree with you, Ollie. I think I can see Sheffield United getting a result here.
Yeah, I think so as well. But it'd be typical Birmingham to go there and get a win and really, really annoy Wilder a little bit more. So, yeah, I mean, Birmingham play the way they do at home. If they can take that away from home, then they're going to struggle. They're going to trouble every team. But for some reason, it's got to be psychological, hasn't it? Now, you know, like we said, they've not got an away win since back end of October, which is 2 months ago. Something's got to change there, hasn't it? Something's got to give. And Birmingham are good enough to go to a lot of places and get a result. So who knows why this weird thing is still hanging over them. So maybe they can go there and decide that they want to make Bramall Lane look a little bit more like St Andrews and get a result. Who knows? But I don't know. I just expect Sheffield United, on the way they're playing at the moment, the way Wilder's got them reacting to sort of adversity and giving them that kick up the arse, if you like. I just fancy Sheffield United to come away with 3 points this weekend.
I think I agree with you on that one. But that is our review, a preview, sorry, of the games upcoming this weekend. We'll now have a little run through of the other games that are going on the weekend. So we'll start with the early kickoffs on Saturday. So Blackburn versus Millwall. Ollie, what do we think for that one?
Postponed, probably.
Yeah.
It's not very exciting, is it? I mean, it doesn't pose much excitement, this one. Millwall are just so weird. I mean, like I say, I didn't think much to them when we went down there last weekend. But Blackburn, they just you never know what you're going to get with them. They're another side who could just come up with a performance every now and again, blow somebody away, and then next week just get absolutely played off the park. A draw.
Yeah, I think I agree. I'm going to go with a draw or postponed. I just think Millwall, they're a tough team to call, but obviously on a bit of a poor run, had a bad result away at Hull, at home to Hull, sorry. But they had a good run before that, so I wouldn't be surprised if they came away with a win here. But every time they sort of hit a slump, it normally lasts a couple of games. So if I had to back anyone to win, I'd definitely go Millwall. Blackburn have been terrible recently. But they're sort of draw specialists. They've drawn 3 of their last 4 games, 1-1.
I'm just laughing at Millwall being 4th in the league and having a -4 goal difference.
So we bring this up every week.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Next up, Preston versus Norwich. Obviously, a Norwich side with a couple of big wins in the last few games, but only 1 loss in the last 5, so it's much improved under Philippe Clement. Preston obviously sat 3rd in the Championship. I mean, what's going on?
They're hard to beat. That's what's going on. They always do it at Deepdale. They're just so difficult to break down, and they've proved so far this season that they never really know when they're beaten. They came from behind not too long ago against Wrexham at home when they were losing for pretty much the entire game, and just got an 83rd, 84th minute equaliser. And they don't know when they're beating Preston, and they're up there on merit, aren't they? They're not very pretty. They're not very exciting. But they're going about games and they're winning, and they're up there for a reason. So it wouldn't surprise me to see him come away with another win here.
Yeah, Norwich have been harder to beat the last few games than they had been in previous times. But if you want a fun fact, Ollie, what was Leicester's no clean sheet run? 14.
14.
Norwich's is 17.
Wow.
So theirs is even worse. So yeah, just
0-0 then.
Yeah, 0-0. Preston love a draw at home, don't they?
They do.
They've drawn 3 of the last 5 games, 1-1 as well. So don't be. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case again in this one. I think Norwich should become harder to beat, and I think Preston are the kings of draws. So I think I might lean towards a draw there.
I think I'm going to go over Preston win. Just.
Yeah. Charlton versus Oxford. I mean, bloody hell. This is 2 teams in not a very good place at all. Charlton have lost 4 of the last 5. Oxford's slightly better. Still only won 1 of the last 5, but they've only lost twice. Somehow one of them was against us. When you're in a state. But again, they did not impress me at all. They showed no attacking prowess in our game. And for me, I think, but then obviously they're playing Charlton, who have shown best part of nothing really in the last couple of weeks.
But then weirdly, they go to St Andrews, where Birmingham only play, and get a point out of it.
It's ridiculous.
It's so weird. Another not very exciting game to call. I don't want to offend people, but Charlton have been in free fall recently, and they're coming up against an Oxford side who aren't much better. I'd like to see goals in this game, but I can't see goals in this game because it's not a lot of quality, is there? I don't want to be boring, but another draw, I think.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I really don't. I can't see a world where they get a result out of a game like that. I just not a big one anyway. But then Oxford, I think I'd rather back Oxford than Charlton in terms of who I think will win. I really think I would. With Oxford's form at the minute, I think they're more likely to win of the 2 sides. So don't be surprised if Oxford come away with that one. But apparently Oxford are unbeaten in 7 with meetings with Charlton. So in the last 7, they've not lost. We're winning 5 and drawing 2. So they've got a good record against Charlton. So that's definitely one to keep an eye on. I wouldn't be surprised. But it's a very hard game to call because honestly, I have no idea. Derby versus Portsmouth. Portsmouth come away with that big win against Blackburn, dragging them out of the relegation zone for the first time in a couple of weeks. But Derby, a bit up and down recently. Only won one of the last 4 after having a very nice run of form before that. But Ollie, 5 of the last 6 meetings between these teams have ended in a draw. Are we going to make it 6 out of the last 7?
No, I'm going to say that Pompey somehow come away with a win. I don't know why. I've got nothing to back that prediction up on, but why should I? It's the Championship. Any prediction's realistic, isn't it? I think Portsmouth are going to go there and get a result. I don't know why, but we'll see what happens.
Wow, that's certainly a. I can't imagine you'd be.
It's a bold prediction. I don't really know why, but I've just got a feeling.
Yeah, I don't know. Derby have been, as you said, they've not been amazing in the last sort of. So I don't hate the prediction.
They won in midweek, didn't they?
Did they play midweek? Oh yeah, they did.
Yeah,
they
Monday night, didn't they? They beat Sheffield Wednesday 3-0.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to gauge when you beat Sheffield Wednesday because you should beat Sheffield Wednesday.
That's it.
I feel bad for them, by the way, which we'll get onto in a minute because they actually we won't because we've already spoken about over Ipswich, but they are safe to say in a bit of a state with AFCON. They've lost even more players to that, so that's not ideal. But I think Derby should win this game, but Portsmouth should win. They're not going to go down without a fight. So I think I lean towards a Derby win, but I wouldn't be surprised if they add to that run of draws and make it 6 draws out of 7 games. So yeah,
it's like what Portsmouth can do with the ball. They look good when they're attacking. They just need to back themselves a little bit more. I think they've got quality in the team. It's just for some reason I don't think they should be down where they are, but the table don't lie. It's I don't know. I just got a feeling that it might click for Portsmouth this weekend against Derby.
Fair enough. Speaking of Sheffield Wednesday, obviously away at Portman Road this week, Ollie. I said Sheffield Wednesday won't win a game until the new year. That prediction is looking absolutely brilliant at the minute.
New Year 27.
After another loss at Derby, they haven't won a game since September 20th is the last time they won a game. Safe to say, going away to Portman Road against an Ipswich side who will be angry at a loss to Leicester, it could be brutal.
Yeah, it's not a nice thing for Sheffield Wednesday, this, is it? Ipswich licking their wounds after that defeat against Leicester, and yeah, it's not a nice place to go there, is it, for Sheffield Wednesday this weekend? It's going to be could be a nasty scoreline here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a high-scoring win for Ipswich, which means Sheffield Wednesday will win 2-0. But yeah,
given our track record, mate, probably.
Ipswich need a response from a very poor sort of couple of games, and I think this is the perfect time to respond and get back on to winning ways and take down Sheffield Wednesday side, who, safe to say, aren't in the best of situations. And finally, Watford versus Stoke. Obviously, Stoke coming off their 2-1 win against Swansea on the weekend. Watford, again, a very weird team to predict. They drew to Wrexham, but they also drew to Sheffield Wednesday, and they were very lucky in that game to even come away with that. It's safe to say, although they did miss a penalty early on, they barely scraped by in the last minute to get a point out of Sheffield Wednesday. So, Watford only one win in the last 5, Ollie, against Stoke side, who finally snapped their run of losses against us on the weekend. It's going to be a hard one for them.
Yeah, it's similar sort of run of form with these two, aren't they? Watford is so odd. I can never ever gauge what's going to happen with that Watford side. They're similar to QPR, aren't they? In that you don't know what you're going to get with them. One week they might blitz a team and look like world beaters and look like they're going to push for promotion. And next week they'll just turn up and play like a bunch of strangers. Stoke, they're a better side than their form suggests recently. I think they've just hit that championship lull, and it happens at this time of season for some teams. I just think Stoke have got a little bit more quality in there. Wouldn't surprise me to see Stoke come away with a win here.
They weren't great against us, all things considered. I think they struggled in large parts of the game to sort of, they took their chances when they needed to, and there was enough in the end ultimately to win. But there was pressure, especially at the end when we get that goal back, where they struggled at times. But Watford, they're not on the best run. I just can't predict Watford. I just hate doing it. We just take it out of predictions. What's the point? Because every time you think you've got Watford nailed down, you don't, and they do something stupid. So I don't know, but I think if I had to back anyone, I'd probably go Stoke. But again, as like most of these games, it looks like it's going to be another draw, in my opinion. I just think it's going to cancel each other out again. I'm doing the thing again where I'm just draw. It's silly, really.
That's why I went Pompey to win at Derby. Why not?
Well, I'll go Stoke to win or Watford then.
There we go.
Well, I probably will change that in my predictions when it comes to Friday. But for now, I'll say Stoke will win. But that is all we have for you for our preview episode of the upcoming week's action. So I believe, barring a review, you'll only see us one more time before Christmas. So we will see you in our next episode. But thank you very much to Ollie for joining me as always, and we will see you.
Pleasure.